Welcome to Mindful Chatting, a podcast where therapy meets real life. I'm Kristen, a therapist, business owner, and a lifelong student of what it means to fully show up in our relationships, in our work, and in our healing. Here, we unpack mental health concepts, explore mindfulness tools, and talk through the messy, beautiful, in-between moments that shape us. Whether you're a fellow clinician, a curious listener, or someone navigating your own growth, this space is for you. Let's chat. Hey friend, welcome back to Mindful Chatting. Let's go ahead and settle in. We're going to grab your comfort drink, your blanket, or whatever helps you ground your nervous system, because today we're talking about something that every ADHD adult has felt in their bones. Big emotions, the kind that feel bigger than the moment itself. The meltdown over something really small, or the overwhelming frustration, the shame spiral afterwards that tells you that you're too much or you're overreacting. This isn't a personality flaw. It's actually emotional regulation, and it's an executive function that we're struggling with, and all ADHD people struggle with. Me too. And so we're going to talk about it today. So when something happens, especially when it's unexpected, like your phone drops or someone interrupts you or plans change suddenly or someone uses that tone that makes you feel kind of weird, your emotional reaction hits at like a 10, even if the situation might just be a 3. And it's not because you're dramatic, and it's not because you're sensitive for really no reason. It's because your brain struggles to down-regulate emotions once they activate. And this emotional intensity is actually a real neurological pattern. And this is part of an executive functioning skill that especially people with ADHD struggle with a lot. But let's break down what emotional regulation actually is. Emotional regulation is the ability to pause before you react, or the ability to stay grounded when emotions rise in you. You can kind of bring yourself back down after activation from something, or the ability to separate the feeling from the behavior that's happening in front of you. And the emotional regulation accesses logic when your nervous system is overwhelmed. And ADHD brains aren't great at this because the emotional centers that activate faster and stronger, while the regulation systems activate slower. So you'll actually feel more before you can think about what's happening for you. And it's because this emotional center is being activated so fast that our impulse control takes over. And we don't have very good impulse control. So we'll react in an emotional way because our regulation system is kind of slower to respond. So we may act impulsively and then go, oh no, I shouldn't have said that. And it be kind of an afterthought because our regulation system finally caught up. If you're nodding along and thinking, yep, this is totally me, I want you to stop and take a free quiz. I have made a quiz about what's your ADHD struggle, and it'll only take a couple of minutes. And at the end, there's a secret freebie waiting for you that will help you start working on your struggle right away. Look in the show notes for the link. So let's bring neuroscience into this, because neuroscience shows that ADHD brains have higher emotional reactivity. So we are going to react to our emotions in a higher capacity. We're also going to have decreased inhibitory control, which means we're not going to be able to stop ourselves and our impulses to react to these emotions. We're also going to have difficulty shifting, which we've talked about in prior episodes of not only do we have difficulty shifting between tasks, but we also have difficulty shifting out of states, and emotional states is one of those things. We also have a slower return to what our baseline was after the overwhelm or the reaction. And because our prefrontal cortex, which is that brain behind our forehead, lags behind the emotional center activation. So our emotional center activation is more in the midbrain. It's going to react, but our prefrontal cortex, remember we've talked about in other episodes, activates a lot slower than the neurotypical. So even though we may be reacting in an emotional capacity very quickly, our prefrontal cortex lags behind and will eventually come back online. But what this looks like is once you're upset, it's harder to come back down for you. And once you're overwhelmed, your clarity and your ability to focus disappears. And then shame hits, and then you spiral, and then that sensitivity is triggered, but it's also amplified. And that's not you shouldn't feel this way type of problem. It's that your brain processes emotions differently. And differently, I mean faster, louder, and more intensely than the neurotypical. If you're working on staying present and grounded, which me too, we all need, especially when your brain wants to spiral into what we call disconnection. Yeah, it's Brain FM. It's musically designed to help ADHD brains, well, really any brain, to focus, relax, sleep, and I use it almost daily. If you want to try it, I've dropped my link in the show notes. And if you're looking for planning tools and ADHD resources, they're in there too. So because now we know how our brain is working, this is what it may look like in real life. You may snap abruptly to people. You may have deep frustration over really small obstacles that get into your way. You may shut down when you feel very overwhelmed. You may cry unexpectedly. You may ruminate on thoughts and behaviors and the way you responded. You may have difficulty letting something go, or you may have shame spirals after emotional moments. And that embarrassment leads to masking or withdrawal, which creates disconnection, not only with yourself, but with other people and your relationships. And here's the part that no one talks about. ADHD emotional dysregulation often looks like a trauma response because it overlaps with one. You're not overreacting. Your brain is overfiring. So I want you to walk away with ways to regulate before you try to problem solve. Because before you solve anything, your body has to regulate. So what I'm asking you to do may seem like really small, simple things, but that's the point. Your brain is so overloaded and overactivated and overfired. I need you to come back to the simple, because ADHD brains cannot think clearly inside a dysregulated state. So let's go over a couple. This is called the 10-second pause. So you stop, take a deep breath, and name the state you're in. So we stop, take a deep breath, and say, I'm overwhelmed, or I'm activated, or whoa, this is way too fast for my brain right now. What this does is it reduces the shame and actually stops and slows the activation. Because when you feel your body come back on, because it's mostly a body feeling, I just want you to stop and take a deep breath and say, I'm triggered, I'm activated, I'm overwhelmed, because this is going to make your prefrontal cortex catch up with you. We just need to stop. We only need a couple of seconds. Another thing you can try is called sensory resets. So your body often needs something before your mind can follow you. So if you're activated, you can try putting cold water on you. Cold temperature adjustments or quick ones going from hot to warm or cold are great ways to reset your body. So you can put cold water on your hands or on your wrists, or splash cold water on your face, or just change the environment. Sometimes stepping outside can make you shift for a second. Deep pressure is also really good. So you can give yourself one of those like butterfly hugs where you're wrapping your arms around your upper forearms and kind of squeezing yourself in as if somebody's giving you a really big deep pressure hug. You can also do what they call palm pressures, where you take both of your palms and push your palms in together. So you're like kind of pushing at your wrists. And this creates deep pressure into your arms and inside of your body. And sometimes that deep pressure just kind of helps ground and resets you when you're very dysregulated. You can also do grounding textures. So this could look like the Nido. It can look like those stress balls. Anything that has a lot of texture to it can help you with grounding. And again, going back and forth between temperatures is really good. So sometimes putting ice packs or those little things that you can crack that warm up your hands, sometimes that sensory reset is all your body needs for that prefrontal cortex to kick on. Another thing is like interrupting the shame spiral. So you could say something out loud like, this is emotional dysregulation. This is not me. This doesn't mean I failed. This doesn't mean I've made a mistake. I'm just dysregulated. Remember, applying articulation and being able to name something, giving it some language, also brings regulation for you. But it stops you from going, something's wrong with me. Oh my gosh, I messed up. What are people going to think of me? That only goes into a spiral. So if we go, this is just me dysregulated, or I just need my prefrontal cortex to come online, does not mean I've made a mistake, can stop that spiral. Another thing you can do is separate the feeling from the behavior. So it's saying, I feel frustrated. Well, yeah, that's a human response. Anybody can feel frustrated with what I'm going through right now. Or throwing your phone because you got really upset. Remember, that's just a behavior. That's me acting out. That's me struggling with an emotion. Same emotion, just different outcomes. And what this does is it allows you to build compassion towards an emotional experience. This gets you out of your shame spiral, because what it does is it says it's okay to feel this way. It's okay, and anyone in this situation would feel this way. You are giving yourself emotional presence. You're giving yourself that compassion, that relationship to that suffering that's going on, and that it's okay. Not that every behavior is okay. So like throwing your phone across the room obviously is not okay, but the emotion is okay. So if I meet it with compassion, I probably don't need to throw my phone across the room. Lastly, co-regulation. So if your nervous system rises too fast, you can also kind of take somebody else's calm. So if you have a partner, a friend, a pet, or even using a song to help you regulate, because you don't have to regulate alone. Here's a good example of this. So I'm not a big flyer. I don't like to go on planes very much. I've definitely worked on my regulation when it comes to planes, but one of the things I do is co-regulation. So it might be with the person next to me if I'm flying with someone, but it also might be the faces of the flight attendants. So if we're going through some turbulence and I'm going like, oh my gosh, is this normal? Like, I don't like this. I will look to the flight attendant's face and I will say, they don't look nervous. They don't look upset. So everything's normal. Everything's fine. What I'm doing is co-regulating. I'm basically saying my anxiety, does anybody else feel anxious? And I'm looking for people's calm to tell me that everything is pretty much okay. Hey, if you want to be first in line for the ADHD Planning Stack Pilot course, make sure you sign up to get early access, discounts, and extra support. The link is in the show notes. I want you to walk away with the fact that your big emotions are not a defeat. They are not a defect in you. You are not a personality flaw. You are not too much, because I'm sure you've gotten all of this feedback from people. What I want you to take these emotions as is a sign that your brain feels intensely and processes slowly, meaning you experience more emotion than you can regulate in the moment. And once you understand your patterns, you can stop moralizing your reactions and start supporting your nervous system. There is nothing wrong with you. Your brain just needs a different rhythm. So if you're curious whether emotional regulation is your biggest ADHD struggle, then I would ask you to take the What's Your ADHD Struggle quiz. It's the show notes if you're looking for the link, and it unlocks this free offer to help you understand your executive functioning profile a whole lot deeper. Thank you for being with me today. Emotional intensity can make you feel isolated, but I'm letting you know you're not alone. There's nothing wrong with your feelings. They just need space. They need support and understanding. So let's be gentle with your mind today.